I'm at the beach right now, and I never thought I would make this video. But lately I felt that it's time to share my story. And what better time than watching the sunset at the beach right now. My name's Christian, and I'm going to share how God has changed my life through the good times, the bad times, and everything in between, and all the ways that He blessed me. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now because, like I said at the beginning, for over 7.5 years, only a few people know this story, but they really encouraged me to share this. Because it might help some of you out there struggling right now. And as the years have passed, as the heartache set in with different situations I found myself in, I realized God was with me the whole time. And He was working wonders in my world that I would never understand until later in life. This is the story of how someone who was just living a normal life experienced things that very few people will ever experience in their life. But as things got better, as I kept putting in the work, I kept praying, things turned out all right. To the point where I can finally share this story. And even if it just helps one person out there struggling right now, that's all that matters. I'm going to start actually at the end right now. Late August, early September of this year. So about a month and a half ago, I'm literally walking along the path I'm walking right now at the beach. And I stumbled across this Bible. And I was like, this is interesting. Maybe that's a sign from God. So I picked it up, brought it back to my place, and I opened it, and it had the words Gospel City Church in it. So I looked up what that was. And I hadn't been to church in a while at that point. I'm a Christian, but this year, 2025, I was questioning a lot of things. Not necessarily Jesus itself. I've always believed in Jesus. But more theological questions in terms of church structure and authority and all that. And I prayed on it, and on August 30th that night, I felt God telling me to just go to church that next day, August 31st. It was August 29th when I found the Bible on the beach. So I went. Everyone was really nice. And there was a lady that stood up and had something on her heart to share, and she said that I feel like I need to say this. Someone with the middle name F, if you're hearing me, this is the message. And then she talked about her message, and I was just at a loss for words. I was in disbelief. I think I started tearing up a little bit because my middle name starts with an F. And I felt the message resonate with me. So the pastor asked if anyone resonated with it. And I'm not sure how often that happens, but I raised my hand and said I felt some. So I went up, it shared what happened literally 2 days beforehand at the beach, finding the Bible, saying Gospel City Church, and went back the next week. Everyone was very, kind of in disbelief, my story. And up until that point, I was struggling with an addiction, a really bad one, for the past 10 years. And not too long after that, where I went back to Gospel City another time, and another time after that, where I really felt that God was telling me that the temptation I was dealing with for the past 10 years was now gone. And this is the longest I've gone without being tempted by the devil. And once all this was happening early September, and just in disbelief, kind of what the past couple weeks I was going through for the past couple weeks, and the fact I felt like this temptation that has overtaken my life for the past 10 years just finally being ripped out of me in a good way. That's when I started thinking maybe it's time to share my story. Not just that I just mentioned, but what I've experienced throughout the past 9 years. The past 9 years of life not going your way. I thought my childhood was pretty normal. I played baseball, basketball, went to school, hung out with friends, made friends. Just typical childhood things. And the only thing that stuck out during my childhood was in 2015 when I had my first of 3 elbow surgeries. Not sure if it was because of baseball or something else. But other than that, everything was going normal. Man, this sunset's really nice right now. And everything was going according to plan until August 10, 2016, when I suffered a very slight hamstring pull on the right side of my leg, so right hamstring. And that set off a domino effect. It was a chain reaction across my entire right leg. The quad was messed up. I developed bursitis. I had all different types of muscle aches and pains radiate through my knee, and then eventually went all to the left side, because the left side I was compensating for the right side. So now I'm having pain, all different types of pains in both of my legs. I developed SI joint dysfunction, sacroiliac joint dysfunction, one of the top 3 worst pains I've ever felt in my life. Radiate up through my spine into my neck, to the point where there were days I literally couldn't turn my neck as a sophomore in high school. There were days I couldn't walk. and I'm barely 16 years old. Throughout that whole fall 2016 timeline, going into the spring of 2017, I was at the chiropractor multiple times a week. I was doing physical therapy multiple times a week, and I wasn't getting better in the least bit. I developed a labrum tear on each side of the hip, or on each hip, caused by my femoral acetabular impingement on each hip. Could it be from baseball that I got the FAI? Maybe. Could it be genetic? Maybe. Could it be a combination? Maybe. But basically everything from my back down was in a pain no one should ever feel. And I just started questioning, why me? Why is it that I have to go through all this? This is the start of me finding God. On days where I missed school and had to sit out on the front porch watching the sunset thinking, geez, why is life going like this right now? I'm only 16 and experiencing things someone in their 60s or 70s or 80s might experience. They might not even experience that much compared to what I'm experiencing right now. Why me? As the spring semester was getting underway, around late February or early March, my elbow starting acting up on me, which required me to go back to the doctor. And the doctor said that it looks like you're going to need another surgery. I said, what do you mean? He said the surgery from 2015, so at that point, just a little under 2 years ago, it looks like there's some things in there that we didn't see in 2015 that have developed even more. So we have to go in and pluck out those pieces of cartilage. If for those that don't know what osteochondritis dissecans is, it's a degenerative disease caused when there's a lack of blood flow. So for definitely over 10 years, I've had zero blood flow in my elbow, where it deteriorates the cartilage, breaks down the bone, breaks down just the whole joint because it's not getting the vital nutrients from the blood. So I definitely had to miss my sophomore year of high school baseball season. And I just kept questioning, why me? Why am I the one to have to go through all this? But my dad gave me some good advice. It all pointed to the book of Job. That was the seed that was planted in my mind that was starting to make me realize that everything's going to be okay. And that's when I started to realize that God actually does have my back. It's just going to take some time. There's the sunset, by the way. I always try and get a sunset in. I think it's good for everyone. That's why I do it. But anyway, we drove up to Philadelphia that June of 2017 to figure out what's going on. We went to go see the best pediatric hip surgeons in the nation. And I'm only 16 and a half at this time. They couldn't even figure out what was going on. At that point, I already had 2 PRP injections, 1 in each hip. I had 6 different type of injections in my SI joint just to try and get it stabilized. The SI joint's supposed to be pretty strong, so the fact that I had SI joint dysfunction says a lot about how destabilized my back was. And by June, definitely after the Philadelphia trip, going into July, things just started magically getting better, which made no sense, because it was like going from 100 on the pain level to 30 the next day to 15 the next day to getting back to normal a week later. I shared this story with some people about all the different injuries I've had, especially during that 2016, 2017 timeline. Before I get into what they said about what they think that caused it, I do want to mention I had a rotator cuff tear that developed, or that became very prominent. Maybe it was already torn, but it just became more prominent around August of 2017. So I needed a PRP injection to get that fixed, but it was healed by December of 2017. Okay, so now that I got all the injuries out of the way and the different things I was going through, some people have thought that this could be a spiritual attack on me by the devil. And I never thought about it like that for the past 9 years. But the fact that we couldn't explain all the different things that were going on besides the elbow and besides the shoulder, because those were easy to manage, despite those being one of the more intense procedures to happen, right? Surgery and a PRP injection. But addressing everything else, we never figured out why I went through all that. Because for the past 9 years now, knock on wood, and praise God, I'm able to walk, run, do all those things. People believe it might have been a spiritual attack by the devil, which is a lot to think about and a lot to process. But I've never thought about it like that up until when they said that. And that absolutely could be the case. But now, I can't do anything about it because it's in the past. I can just be thankful that God got me out of that situation. So December 2017 hits, and I look back at that point, I'm like, finally, it's about time. It's about time to get back to normal. This was the first major test in my life. Something that was going to prepare me for something even more dramatic. But the lessons learned, I know it's cliche, that you gotta just keep working hard. Perseverance, I got introduced to that word during that time. But also putting your faith in God. Because putting your faith in God means that you surrender everything to Him. And He got me through it after a year and a half of struggle. So I'm getting back to normal. It's December 2017. I'm doing tryouts for baseball again. I can finally throw and hit and run and all that. I was normal for about 2 months. I had normalcy for 2 months, from January of 2018 to early March of 2018. And on March 7, 2018 is when my life changed. Forever. I became a whistleblower. I had to report stuff to the school and the authorities, the local law enforcement authorities, because of things that not only was I a witness to that were crimes, but also I was a victim of. I remember it was March 8th, the next day. I met with the principal, the assistant principal, one of the police officers, and they wanted me to explain to them exactly what was going on, the details of the situations at hand, who was involved, all that. So I was very cooperative. And then they asked one specific incident that they seemed they were visibly shocked and distressed about just even mentioning, because of just how bad it was. And they asked who the victim was. And I'll never forget this. I took about 3 to 5 seconds of pause and said me. My dad was there. He I don't know if I've ever seen him tear up, but it seemed like he was. The principal and the assistant principal were all tearing up. They're already crying at that point. And I went back home. I left school early. I was in AP chemistry, or I had an AP chemistry test that day, and we were all wearing suits and all that. The girls were wearing their appropriate attire because the teacher instilled in us that on important days in your life you should dress appropriately. So he made sure to encourage us to wear professional attire during the test. So I was already dressed up, but I remember going home with my brother early. It was probably around like 2:30 when we left. School ended at 2:55, I think, during those days. I went home. My mom was already crying but had a smile on her face and just gave me a big hug when she opened the door. And I went up to my room. It was sunny. I had the windows open like I usually do because I need to see the sun and the blue sky and all that. And I was listening to Resurrecting by Elevation Worship and Great Are You, Lord by All Sons and Daughters. And I listened to those songs a couple times beforehand, late February. Didn't think much about those songs, and now those songs are not in a bad way. They don't bring bad memories for me, but they are definitely two songs I consider in my top 10 songs of all time as songs that helped me get through that initial first several months of dealing with everything, going to court, the media reporting on us, Fox, Washington Post, different types of media outlets reporting on the situation. I ended up moving schools because people at my school started to not like me. And you're thinking, how could they not support someone or give them encouragement when all they were doing was trying to do the right thing? And that's the question I keep asking myself. But I lost friends over this. Parents of friends didn't really care for me anymore. They didn't even care for my parents. The people that my dad coached throughout our childhood, with all the things my dad did for their kids, taking time out of his day just to coach us. And this is the response we get from me, just trying to do the right thing. I ended up moving schools. That didn't really help because my new school and the old school I left were very close to each other. Everyone knew each other. It wasn't like I was really going to a different school at that point. I mean, there were some times when I was not directly threatened, but informally threatened, and my parents decided it was in the best interest to move. So we moved states, several hundred miles away from the state we were living in, just to get a fresh start. We moved July 17, 2018. And I was entering my senior year of high school, having to start all over, 1 year before everyone would go off to college. And that fall 2018 semester was by far the hardest, most difficult, most anxious semester I've ever had in school. Doesn't matter if it was elementary school, middle school, high school, college, graduate. Summer or fall 2018 was by far the hardest semester I've ever had to deal with, and there was no close second. I missed my senior year homecoming just to fly back up to go to court to watch the sentencing. And they didn't even do it on that day. They delayed it. So I had to fly back up a couple weeks later in early November. So I missed another day of school. And I testified, which has by far been the hardest thing I think I've ever had to do. Is to come face to face with the people that did me wrong and explain how my life was changed forever. I did that. I got cross-examined. They eventually got sentenced to jail. I watched them get put in handcuffs. And I wish that was all the closure I needed to move on with life, but no. It would take me another 3.5 years to finally move on. Despite all the people, all the friends I lost, all the people that stopped liking me, there were some that stood by me, and publicly too. And they were ridiculed for it. They even supported me at court one time. They showed up just to support me, and they were ridiculed for it. It's funny how the people I thought would have my back actually didn't. A lot of them. Some did. I'm not saying everyone, but there were some. Actually, there were a good number that didn't have my back that I thought were going to. And then there was actually some that I thought wouldn't have my back, but they actually did. And to those that were supporting me, I haven't forgotten about you. You know exactly who you are, especially the ones that were public about it and actually showed up to court just to support me before I moved. You don't understand that because of that, you gave me a little more fuel during that season to keep me going. Because besides my family, there were people out there that actually cared. So I haven't forgotten about you, despite haven't been able to see you guys or talk to you guys in years. I just want to say thank you. You're part of the reason why I'm able to film this video and explain it. Because you showed strength and you showed courage for backing me during that whole nonsense I was going through. I ended up graduating 6th in my class at the new high school I went to. I qualified for a bunch of scholarships to go to college in state. I made a ton of new friends that luckily I still talk to this day constantly, because they had my back also, despite the fact that most of them didn't really understand why I moved or all that, but they were doing their part. Actually, they didn't even know it back then, but just the fact just to hang out, play basketball, walk in downtown, just hang out, that was important for me. It was important for me to get out and do something and not just sit there and sit in the new house we had and just contemplate everything that happened over the past several months. So to those that are watching this, the new friends I made in the new state I moved to my senior year of high school. You are also part of the reason why I'm able to film this, because you didn't know this back then, but you helped me. You helped me. So thank you. And as senior year came to a close, I had to reflect deeply on what the past year meant, because I graduated May of 2019 and March of 2018. So that's March 2018 to May 2019. That's about 14 months of pure reflection on everything that just went on in life. The biggest lesson learned, I actually stole from Mission Barbecue when I went there, I think August or September of 2018, with some of my friends not too long after I moved, some new friends I made at my school. And Mission Barbecue had a quote on the wall. And it perfectly sums up everything, the whole situation. It said, choose the harder right than the easier wrong. And I saw that, and I said, yeah, that's God right there telling me that. That's God telling me I did the right thing. Because I questioned it for so many months. Was it worth it? But just seeing that quote on that wall made me realize, yeah, it's hard to do the right thing in life. Besides the hard work and the perseverance and the strength I just had to have just to get through everything, choosing the harder right than the easier wrong definitely is the lesson learned. Also, placing your trust in God, by far the biggest. And the whole injury season I had from August 10th, 2016 to December 2017 prepared me for March 7th and onward. College started August 2019. All the friends I had in high school, most of us went to the same college and had a good time with them. Still a little iffy about everything that just happened the year before, but we're making progress. 2020 comes around and COVID happened. And I made sure to stay locked in. What do I mean by that? Even when the world was becoming a dark place, I made sure I was studying online, I was doing my workout, I was eating right, and when I could, hang out with my friends. And that's what got me through that 2020-2021 season. Fall 2021 comes around for my junior year of college, and I thought it was time to seek help. I talked to 2 different counselors, one before I moved, one after I moved. Didn't really get much help, even though they were good people. I had a breakdown August 30th, 2021 with one of my best buddies. And I don't know why I had that breakdown that day, but it was evident that there were still things that needed to be solved so I could move on from the March 7th incident. So I started seeing a Christian counselor, and that was exactly who I needed to get me through everything. Late February of 2022 is when I finally could dream of people apologizing to me for not supporting me. And when that happened, that's when it was evident that I was healing. Because before then, I was dreaming so often just about the bad stuff, about the people I hadn't seen in 4 years. Just the whole situation, dream about constantly. But to finally have a dream, a positive dream like that, was the counselor helping. Like, it was very evident that that's exactly who I needed in that moment in time to get me through that and move on with my life. How it closes is on March 7, 2022. I'm at the beach. I run into some people I met in college. We all ate. We all hung out at the beach for a little bit, went to go eat dinner, do a little homework. The day was March 7, 2022. So 4 years exactly after March 7, 2018. And I was thinking maybe I'll go watch the sunset because, right, who doesn't like a good sunset? Like right now, it's pretty fire. And I noticed the time when the sun was setting was going to be 6:35. And I thought, no way, that's all God. Because it was March 7, 2018 at 6:35 when I reported all the stuff I did. So around 6:20, I got to the beach and just was thinking, what do I want to do? And I thought, this is the perfect opportunity to talk to myself 4 years ago. So for about 10 minutes, I was telling my old self, it was like writing my old self a message or a letter. Basically summing it up, I said this: hey, it's Christian from 4 years in the future. You have no idea what's going to happen with life in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But the fact that you were able to survive the injuries and walk again and throw again and just be able to play baseball again, you'll get through this, what you're about to experience. I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen, but your life is going to change forever, and you got to put your trust in Jesus, because he's the one that's going to help you get through it, just like I did 4 years into the future. And as the sun set, I said a quick prayer. I said, good luck, Christian. And that's when my 4 years of depression, anxiety, and all that went away. March 7, 2022 was the day I put behind me the previous 4 years. And I told myself, now life starts. Now my adult life starts. Because during the whole incident, I was 17 still. I wasn't an adult yet. Testifying all that, I was only 17. So I spent my entire adult life at that point thinking about this whole situation and thinking this was normal life, which it wasn't, obviously. But finally, 4 years later to the day, I was able to say, now my adult life starts. So I got a job at a social club from a friend that summer of 2022. Worked my ass off. I worked my ass off in that job. Working late nights, early mornings, long hours, solving problems in a pretty high, fast-paced hospitality environment. Kept that job during the fall of 2022 semester, so entering my senior year of college, I got a teacher's assistant job in statistics, and I had my tutoring job on the side. So I was working 6-7 days a week, also had 4 classes, and was working so hard. I was working so hard. I had social media from, I got it fall 2021 when I joined my fraternity, and deleted it August 6, 2022, because I said I gotta because the previous 4 years were just a nightmare for me. I didn't have time to think about future goals and plans and all that. So I was like, I got to figure out what I want to do with my life. So I deleted social media, Instagram and Snapchat, August 6th of 2022. I spent that whole fall semester just locking in. I lost a lot of friends during that, but nothing ill will. It was just the fact that I deleted social media. A lot of the people just stopped reaching out to me, and the ones that were real friends were still reaching out to me via text or phone call or FaceTime or whatever. January of 2023 comes around. I get an internship in supply chain. I decided to keep all 3 of my jobs that spring 2023 semester for my last semester of college. So I had 4 jobs, working literally 7 days a week. I remember March 3rd or 4th of 2023, it was a Saturday. I remember waking up at 5 a.m., going to the social club job that started at 7 because the drive was about 45 minutes and I had to get there early. Ended at 3. I literally drove straight from work to the school I was TAing at, which was obviously the college I was at. And I was proctoring an exam for my students from 5:15 to 6:30, 6:45, and then literally drove from there to the local Panera to go tutor someone till 9 or 9:15. So I spent from 5 a.m. till about 9 p.m. So about 16 hours of the day, literally in 3 of the 4 of my jobs. I always look back and think that's pretty cool. The only job I didn't do that day was my internship, which obviously you don't do on the weekend. My internship, they gave me a full-time offer after I graduated, and I graduated May of 2025. 3.9 something GPA, near 4.0. And I was pretty proud of myself. Because I did it. The previous 5 years, add on another 1.5 years of the injury, so the past 6.5 years of just straight misery, but I was able to graduate with my undergrad degree. Another lesson learned. It's cliche. Might have already said it, but I'm just gonna say it again. I worked so hard. Put in the work if you want something. No shortcuts. My full-time job started late May of 2023. My best buddy actually got an internship at that company because he graduated later that summer. So it was pretty funny. We're both working at the same company. We even have a picture of it. It's pretty cool. But during that whole summer, I felt like God was telling me to leave the company, go back to school, get your master's, go back to the social club, which I ended up doing. August 10th of 2023, literally 7 years after the August 10, 2016 incident with my hamstring, when that started everything for me in a bad way. I ended up going back to school, went back to the social club. Everyone was excited to have me back and see me back, and the clientele was really happy to see me again. I got an internship with the local county government in their finance department, working 3 days a week there, 2 days at the social club, 4 classes during that fall 2023 semester. And I was also applying for summer internships for the next year, and was absolutely just locking in at least 50, 75, maybe over 75 applications I submitted. I got numerous first round interviews, including Goldman Sachs. I submitted the Goldman Sachs application actually was the wrong application I submitted, which is really funny because I still got the first round interview. So I just was like, oh, maybe they don't really pay attention to the application. Maybe they'll look at it after my interview with HireVue. So I just did not care about the higher view interview. I just obviously I did my best, but I was so at ease with everything that I actually wasn't nervous because I didn't think I would get the Goldman opportunity. So I basically used that higher view as practice for the other higher views I had. Sunset looks pretty fire, by the way, too. And did that. Late October comes around, still applying for a lot of things, and I get an email back from Goldman saying, you made it to the Super Day. I'm like, oh, okay. What's a Super Day? And obviously, me not doing my research and me not, I don't know, I just didn't know what a Super Day was. So I looked up what a Super Day was because I didn't know what it was. I thought it was some type of virtual webinar for intern applicants for any tips and tricks on how to land a Goldman Sachs internship. I thought that's what a Super Day was. Come to find out, it was literally the final round interview. I said, oh my geez, I made it to the Goldman Sachs final interview. I didn't realize how big deal it was until that moment, because I thought by submitting the wrong application, by wrong application, I mean the wrong cover letter, really. And the resume was like 3 pages, so I didn't know what I was doing. But I still submitted it anyway, and yeah, I got the interview. I prepared for a week. November 2nd was the interview. Everyone at the social club knew what was going on, and they were really happy for me and giving me good advice, but kept reminding me, Christian, this is all you, man. You didn't take any shortcuts. You didn't ask for any favors. This is all you. Good luck. But we're already proud of who you've become since we've known you for the previous year and 3 months. I do the interview. Then November 8th of 2023, around 1:20 p.m., I get a call from Goldman stating I got the offer. Summer internship in New York City with Goldman Sachs. And I started tearing up because from March 7th, 2022 onward, I was just putting in the work. I was putting in the work because I had 4 years to catch up on from the incident. But I did it. I landed a Goldman Sachs internship, and I didn't realize how hard that was to do until really after I got the final interview email. People saying how hard it is to just get that, on top of now actually getting the offer. And I got it. That was such a good week. I remember going out with some of my friends that Friday, November 10th. And we were just having a great time. I was having a great time. I worked so hard. And then about a week later after that, I decided to apply for spring internships to see what was out there. The internship I was at was great people, great work I was doing. I was looking for something a little different. So I applied just to different places and just thought maybe SpaceX would be cool. So I did. I applied to SpaceX, somehow got I got an interview with them the day after Thanksgiving in 2023. Hardest interview I've ever had to do. But I did it. And I got the next interview, which was on November 29th. Did the interview really easy. And I got the offer not even a couple hours later after the second interview. And I was thinking, what is going on? I just got an offer to go to SpaceX that spring, and then to follow that up, go to Goldman Sachs in New York later that summer. I had to go play basketball. I had to get out of the house because I was so overwhelmed with everything that was going on. How did I, in a good way, I'm asking, why me? Like, why do I deserve this? And it's still shocking to think about, because I just worked so hard. I just worked so hard. And I remember sitting there at Stovall House, New Year's New Year's night, New Year's Eve, working that last shift before I would be sent off to SpaceX, I just sat back in the reception's chair and thought, thank you, God. What an incredible experience this has all been. From March 7, 2022 onward. The clientele was so happy to hear. My parents were so happy for me. I ended up doing I ended up doing both things. I did go to SpaceX and Goldman. After I got back from Goldman Sachs, August of 2024, I ended up having my third elbow surgery. Doctor said it might be every 3 to 5 years I'm gonna have to have this surgery for the rest of my life. But I know if God was able to get me through the injuries in 2016 and 17, he was able to get me through the March 7, 2018 incident. He's gonna help me get over this degenerative elbow disease. I know it. Even though there's no cure for it right now, I know for sure he's gonna get me through it. There's gonna be a day where it's healed 100%. After the surgery, I took the semester off, thought about what God wanted me to do because it was a tough time for me. Listened to him, ended up actually going back to SpaceX for another internship, and 2025 comes around. And I'll just say that I ended up getting a job somewhere out of state. So I moved not almost 7 years to the day where I moved to Florida. And I'm in a different state. I have a job. And life's good. And as I'm settling in over the past 4 months, I'm walking, right? Now I come back to the beginning. I'm walking along this beach, along my normal path, and I see this Bible in the sand. And you know the story from there at the beginning. And for the past several weeks, I felt God tell me it's time to share. It's time to share this story of all the good things he's done for my life when I didn't believe, when I didn't have the strength to just walk or turn my head or anything physical. I am living proof that God can work miracles and take away temptations that you've been captivated to. For me, for over 10 years, no more. One of the Bible verses my dad shared with me during the whole whistleblower incident was 1 Corinthians 10:13 that I never forgot. And I still think about that verse every day to this day. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape that you may be able to bear it. And that hasn't rung more true than it has been over the past month and a half. Because I prayed about it for years, asking God to take this away from me. And then one day it just goes away. I can't explain that feeling. It was unbelievably, it was just unbelievable. The weight lifted off your shoulders. I mean, I'm just so thankful to be able to share this, to give someone hope out there. If you're struggling with something, if life isn't going the way you want, fear is a liar. The fear that comes with all that. I believe that's the devil telling you, you can't do that. He purposely makes you scared. But just defeating fear in and of itself is a big win. Because by placing your faith in Jesus, you can defeat fear. It's getting dark. Sunset's still looking pretty fiery. The afterglow is still looking really nice. There's a lot of people I can thank and want to thank. Like my parents, my grandparents, my brother, different family members, some of my closest friends from the state I lived in before the move, friends that helped me get through the tough times after the move. I also want to thank Chris Stapleton, Aaron Lewis, Lori McKenna, Luke Combs, and Cody Jinks, because I had them on repeat nonstop after the move. Whether it was Chris Stapleton's 5 different albums, Aaron Lewis's several different albums, Lori McKenna's The Balladeer album, Luke Combs' This One's For You album, especially the song This One's For You, which is for me top 5 song of all time. All the different songs Cody Jinks has in the albums, as well as some of the elevation worship songs, Hillsong songs. I was listening to them on repeat because I needed to stay distracted from all the bad stuff I was experiencing. And if somehow one of the artists I just listed, if they're just listening to this message, just know that your music had literally got me through the darkest hours of my life. And I just want to say thank you. Because it seemed like you were the friends I had when I didn't seem like I had friends or felt lonely. I always found comfort just putting your music on. Being able to listen to it and say everything's going to be all right because of the messages in your songs resonated with me. And I just wish there was a day where hopefully I can meet one of you just to shake your hand and say thank you. Because I'm here. Part of the reason why I'm here is by listening to your music and just being able to bear life 1 minute at a time. The music that kept me upbeat, the upbeat music just kept me going. Ironically, the sad music did too, which I still laugh about and still listen to. But basically, thank you very much. So as tomorrow comes and as I keep living life, I'm very appreciative you guys heard my story. We'll see what happens, but life's going all right now. And all the lessons learned, I can now implement in my life in different ways. Thank you, guys.